Hi, this is Mr. H. I'm doing this video for those of you who came into class late, you missed the second day of school in my class, and this calculator is such an important tool in Algebra 1 that I want you to have the opportunity to just get what we handed out the second day. Okay, we went through and learned about some of the functions, reviewed them, and the more you learn this tool, the easier your year in my class will be. All right, so basically you can go through this paper just like you're taking notes. I'm going to go through, maybe not the whole thing, but I'll go through all of the front and a little bit of the back. The reason I'm not going through the back is there are things on the back that no one has yet covered. It's stuff we haven't even gotten to in the year. So you'll be fine if you just learn and follow along with the front. Okay, so the first thing is we start looking at the buttons and all the different things on the calculator. And the first question is, what key is under the home or on key? Here's the home key, has a picture of a house. Right below it, you have the word dock. Okay? What you do with the dock button is, if we have a document, you can add pages to that document is one thing we'll be doing more than anything. Like say I open this document and I want to add a tab. I can hit Control Document. Say I want to add a graph this time. Oops. Let's add a graph. Okay, now I can graph things. Say I want to add a spreadsheet and put in a whole table of data. I can hit Control Doc. I can add a list and spreadsheet. Looks like an Excel spreadsheet. We'll be using these screens throughout the year. Some less than others. We won't be using this very much, but there is one key thing we'll use it for at least. When I need to go from tab to tab, I hit Control arrow, left arrow, to go to the other one. Control, left arrow. I'm holding Control, going back and forth. Okay? There's other ways you can do these things, but I'm just showing you one way, and I'm sure as you get used to the calculator, you'll learn other ways. The next thing, which key do you push to access the yellow functions? That is the Control key right here. Okay, the Control key is the only one that's a different color. Okay, so the yellow functions are talking about, if you take a look at these calculator buttons, there's a lot of things in yellow above them. So like here, the Shift key, it has caps. So when I hit Control Shift, it actually lets me type in caps. Okay? There's other ones we'll talk about in a little bit. But if you see, there's all these different symbols. So every button has two functionalities, basically. One you might be using with complicated equations is above the parentheses, you have brackets and braces, different types of things, right? So if you see an equation that has all that stuff in it, you can type it just like you see it using Control and the button. All right? So what's next? Draw an image above the division key. Well, the image right above the division key, here's the division key. I'm going to try to zoom in a little more. It's a little box on top of a box with a fraction bar in between. I call that the fraction template. All right, when I hit, and it's in yellow, so we use the Control button. When I hit Control and divide, let me go to a regular, I'm on a spreadsheet right now. Let me go ahead and go to, I'll just go to the calculating scratch pad. If you're working on problems and you want to go back and forth, by the way, you want to work in a document. So you can go back and forth with your tabs. But if you're just doing something really quick on the side, you can go to the Calculate or Graph Scratch Pad. So here's the Calculate Scratch Pad. Let's say I wanted to make a fraction. When I hit Control and divide, I get that little template that I saw the yellow picture of. I can put in like 1 and then down arrow and put 2, and then I hit the right arrow to get out of that, and I have the fraction 1/2. Okay? And then I can just multiply, add, divide fractions with ease. Not a big deal. I can even add fractions that have different denominators. Unlike in middle school when you have to get a common denominator, I don't have to do that anymore. Say I put in 2/3. 1/2 plus 2/3, enter, it's 7/6. All right? If I wanted to change that answer to a decimal, one quick shortcut is Control Enter. It changes it to a decimal. All right? The other picture that I drew was a picture of the book. We don't use the book very often, so we don't have to really worry about it right now. If we ever get to something where we're talking about using the book, I will show you in class. Okay. What does the option allow you to do? Enter fractions. Okay. What do you find above the equal sign key? Let's take a look. Here's my equal sign key. Above that, you see some symbols. Those symbols are called inequality symbols, right? That's an equal sign with a slash. It means not equal to. That is a little greater than or equal to, and so on. When I hit Control and divide, let me put in a number first. When I hit Control and not divide, Control equals, I get a little menu on my screen that gives me some options. Instead of putting 2 equals or 2 plus, I could put 2 is greater than something, or less than, or not equal to. Okay? Like that. Okay, that's what that one does. Number 5, what body part appears on the click button? It's a hand. Okay? Let's look at the click button. That's this arrow button with the little middle button. So it looks like a little mouse click going on here, but there's another picture of a hand. Okay, what does the hand do? Let's go to a graph to show this. All right, so let's say I go to the graph, and let's say I have an equation. I'm just going to make up something like y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, so I'm studying the equation. I'm trying to get the glare not right on the screen here. So I'm studying the equation. Let's say I want to go up or down or move around on here. What I can do is I'm using this mouse pad. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm using this mouse pad to move the mouse on the screen. This is a mouse pad. And I can go over here anywhere away from a line so I don't accidentally click a line or an axis. And I can click and hold, and I get that same picture of a hand that I saw right here. It basically means I've grabbed onto the screen and I can drag around and move the paper. It's like a virtual paper. So if I need to look at more of the graph down here, I can look at more of the graph down here. And to let go of the paper, I just do a quick tap and I'm back to the mouse. That's really handy, and you'll get used to it really fast the more you practice. Okay, say I drag up, go back to the middle, tap quick, it's done. All right? Okay, if you make a mistake, you can press Control, then Escape. Okay, that's right here. Control and Escape. Or you could press Control and then the letter Z. Now, I don't know if you already know your keyboard commands for a computer keyboard, but Control Z means undo. You undo the last step. Okay, there's some other ones that are important. Control C, you can copy and paste. And you can also do that on this calculator. If I'm in a calculate screen, and let's say I wanted to copy something, and I'll tell you what it's really, like say I want to copy this, because maybe I mistyped it and I want to rewrite it. I could do Control C, go back down, and then Control V for paste, not Control P. Control V as in Victor. I pasted it a second time. All right. Let's go to back to this. I was kind of on an aside here in the middle of this one. So Control Escape or Control Z can undo. If I need to redo it, I can hit Control Y. The delete key, which is over here with the little backwards arrow, it works just like the backspace key on a keyboard. So every time you hit delete, you're deleting backwards one symbol at a time. Where is the clear button? There's actually not a button that says clear, but if you look closely, it's above the delete key. So technically the clear button is Control Delete. And what that does is it deletes an entire line. Like if I just want to delete one thing, like the 2/3, there it is. But if I want to delete an entire line, Control Delete gets rid of that entire line. Okay, what keys control the contrast that darkens and lightens the screen? Control plus and Control minus, okay? So what that means is I can make the screen with more or less contrast. Control plus is Control plus sign. The more I hit it, or hold Control down and press plus, the screen's darker. Actually, it might be all the way, so you don't really see much. If I do Control minus, my screen's getting darker and darker. Control plus gets brighter and brighter, lighter and lighter. The contrast is changing. Okay, next section. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to open a new document. So I'm going to erase my scratch pad. All right, and what I'm going to do is, here's how I open a new document. I go to Home, arrow over to New Document, push Enter. I don't want to save anything else. I hit No. It says to add a tab with a calculator, a tab with a graph, and a tab with list and spreadsheet. So kind of like what we had before, but now I'm going to show you a little more slowly how I did it. So add the calculator, go ahead. This is my calculate tab. So now to add the sheet again, Control, Doc, there you go. I'm going to add graphs. You can just hit 2 or you can arrow down to 2. And now Control, Doc. This time I'll just hit the number 4, list and spreadsheet. And remember, like I said, I can hold Control and hit the arrow to go back and forth. So we'll use this to do some of these other problems. And again, I'm not going to do the back. I'm just going to kind of do the front for now, because we're going to get to graphing later and we'll all learn at the same time. Okay, so solve square root of 289. How do you do that? Control, and then here's the square root button. It's above the little x squared button. So Control that button. In there I put 289. Answer 17. All right, solve this. 23 to the power 2. Watch this carefully. We're going to use that same square x squared button, this one. But this time we're not going to hit Control. When I just hit 23 and I push that x squared button, it puts a little exponent of 2 on my 23. I push Enter. I got 529. Solve. Here's a good time to use those brackets we talked about. Okay, I'm just going to type all this in the calculator the way I see it. There's one thing I haven't shown you yet right here that I'll show you when I get to it. So let me raise this guy up so we can look at it, but I can still have my calculator here. So I'm going to hit my brackets, which is going to be Control, this little parenthesis, right? Control, parenthesis. It's got a whole set of brackets right there that I can start typing into, right? So I'm going to do 4 minus 3, but now I need parentheses. So I'm going to hit the left parenthesis. There we go. Now I have parentheses. In the parenthesis, I put 2 minus 4. Now I want to point out something. Every time I see subtract, the regular minus sign, I'm using this one. Occasionally, I will see a negative sign, which is usually, if it's printed correctly, it's a little bit smaller. But how you know it's a negative sign is it's usually in front of a number and there's nothing on the other side. Or it's in front of a bracket and there's nothing to the left of it. The negative sign is this little one right here. And it's a very common mistake to get these confused. And if you get it confused, you will get it wrong, okay? It won't calculate correctly. All right, so I'm putting this in the calculator. I got my 2 minus 4. Now I need to go to the right of that parenthesis, so I hit the right arrow. There's a little exponent of 3. Now this button does an exponent of 2, but that doesn't help me, so I'm going to delete that. How do I get an exponent of 3? There's another button that we call commonly the carrot top or house top button. It looks like a little house top or a carrot top. I push that button and it gives me a small exponent box, and I can put any number I want. So I'm going to put 3. Now notice my blinker is still with the 3. I don't want the blinker to stay up there, because if I keep typing like the next stuff, it's going to be up there like an exponent. It's giving me an exponent of 3 minus 7. That's going to make my stuff wrong. So I'm going to delete that. And to get out of the exponent part, I hit the right arrow once, and there it is blinking full size again. All right? So what we're going to do is we're going to now do minus 7. And then I already have my closed bracket. I just need to hit the arrow, right arrow key to get on the outside. And this time, since it's a square of 2, I can just hit the regular x squared. Or I could do house top 2. Either one's fine. You do that, you push enter, and that's the answer, 441. All right. Let's go ahead and do this next one, number 4. We're converting a fraction to a decimal. Extremely easy in this calculator. I'm going to hit Control Divide to get my fraction template. 3 on the top, 8 on the bottom, arrowed down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the menu button, and I'm dealing with changing the number, right? Changing the form of the number. So I go to menu 2. And I'm going to convert to decimal. So menu 2-1 converts it to a decimal. Now I didn't do it yet. Once I get to this, I hit enter. And I have 0.375. Okay? Let's now convert a decimal to a fraction. I have 0.625. I need to convert that to a fraction. Go to the same basic menu, menu 2. But now it's going to approximate to fraction. That's choice 2. I get this, approx fraction. There's some weird stuff that you don't have to worry about. I press enter. The fraction is 5/8. All right. Now, here's a couple of things that, if you remember middle school stuff and all the factor trees and all that stuff, the common multiple lists. If I had to do this by hand, I'd have to find the least common multiple of 82 and 48 by listing 82 times 1, answer. Put the answer to that. The answer to 82 times 2, 82 times 3. I have to do that all as far as I can, along with, and with 48 right below it, until I look for the same number that shows up in both lists. That would be the least common multiple. You can do it in just a couple of steps in this calculator. Okay, we don't have to make any lists. So I go to that same menu that I went to, menu number again, but this time there's a choice called least common multiple. I go to choice 4. Now the way that I put that in here, it says LCM. I put the first number, a comma, the second number. The first number was 82. Now let me show you the comma button. It's right down here on the bottom left. Okay, so I put comma. And then the other number was 48. Hit enter. That is the least common multiple. So if I had made all those lists all the way down as far as possible, I wouldn't get to the common one until I got to that. And it may not be a very long list. Maybe it wasn't too long at all. But this is a lot shorter. 1,968. Okay? This, in middle school, you had to do a factor tree. You had to start here, figure out 2 numbers that multiply together to get this. But if they're not both prime, you keep going and going and going and going until you get to just the prime numbers that all multiply together to give you this. And prime means it's not divisible by anything except for 1 and itself. We don't have to do any of this. All right? What we're going to do, we're going to go to menu again, menu 2, where it says factor. You're going to find the prime factors. Okay? So I go to 3. And all I do is put the number in the parentheses. 2, 4, 4, 5. Hit enter. 3 times 5 times 163. Those are my prime factors. 3 times 5 times 163. That would be at the bottom of my long factor tree. Okay? Absolute value, honestly, the absolute value of any number is just the positive version of that number. But if you need to make one, there's a couple of ways. You could go to the book that I told you we don't use very much. Under tab 4, there's an absolute value thing here. Okay, let's just do it that way for now. I hit that. I have a little template of absolute value. I can put in the number they have, -16, push enter, and as I said before, it's just the positive version of that number. So that is the front of the book. That's the answer. The front of this paper, that's enough to get you started in class.